Okay, so wonderful to be here with you all this morning, as always. I know I don't always say that, but it fills my heart up, makes me happy. Let's give our attention to Matthew chapter 26, where we're going to hear about Jesus being tested in a garden. Okay? So Matthew 26, verses 36 to 45. 46, actually. Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Phone break. All right. Then Jesus went with his disciples. This is after they celebrated Passover together, and Jesus just told them one of them was going to betray him, and then all the rest of them are going to abandon him. So that's where we're picking up. He went with his disciples to a place called Gethsemane, and he said to them, "Sit here while I go over there and pray." He took Peter and the two sons of Zebedee, their names were James and John. He took them along with him, and he began to be sorrowful and troubled. Then he said to them, "My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me." Going a little farther, he fell with his face to the ground and prayed, "My Father, if it is possible, may this cup be taken from me, yet not as I will, but as you will." Then he returned to his disciples and found them sleeping. "Couldn't you men keep watch with me for 1 hour?" he asked Peter. "Watch and pray so that you will not fall into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak." He went away a second time and prayed, "My Father, if it is not possible for this cup to be taken away unless I drink it, may your will be done." When he came back, he again found them sleeping because their eyes were heavy. So he left them, and he went away once more and prayed the third time, saying the same thing. Then he returned to the disciples and said to them, "Are you still sleeping and resting? Look, the hour has come, and the Son of Man is delivered into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us go. Here comes my betrayer." All right, so we'll start with a parable this morning about a young woman named Melissa. Melissa had 1 year of experience at her new job, and she was doing great. She was hired for her abilities as a landscape designer, and she was catching on really quickly, doing a wonderful job. She's a team player, working really hard, consistent, creative, and anytime she did make a mistake, which of course people are going to do at their jobs, right? She was quick to correct it when her owner pointed out what she was doing wrong. So Melissa just assumed that when she met with her boss for her annual review, she'd be getting a promotion and a raise. In fact, some of her fellow employees even thought that she was starting to get kind of a big head because of how confident she was in her performance. She went in for her annual review, and her owner said, "Melissa, you have done an amazing job this first year. We're so glad that we brought you on. You've embraced the mission of our company. You're a team player. You're open to ways that you can improve. We're so excited that we brought you onto the team. But I have some bad news for you. This next year, you are going to fail in a very big way. In fact, in 2 weeks, you're going to be on a very difficult project, and you're going to make a mistake that's going to reflect very poorly on your reputation and on the reputation of the company." Imagine you're Melissa. How would you respond? Nobody likes to be told that they're going to fail, right? And if anything, if somebody were to make that kind of a prediction about us, we might want to try and prove them wrong, right? I tell that story to illustrate what was going on with Jesus' disciples on the darkest night of his life. Do you remember what he told them when they were eating the Passover? First, he told them that one of them was going to actually betray him. And I know Judas gets a really bad rap, but what did Jesus say about the rest of the 12? Or the 11? What was going to happen when he was arrested? They were all going to abandon him in his darkest hour. They were all going to leave. And who stood up to the challenge? Do you remember? One of the 12. No way, Jesus. That'll never happen. Even if all fall away, I never will. Do you remember who that was? Peter. Yeah, Peter. He did not like to hear that he was going to fail. It's interesting, when Jesus was in the garden, how would you say Peter did? Jesus' darkest hour, when he tells them, I mean, could you hear the anguish in Jesus' voice when he said, "Stay with me, watch with me, don't let me be alone"? And how did Peter do? He fell asleep. Jesus came back and found him sleeping. First point today is that difficult tests humble the proud. I think all of us could admire Peter's enthusiasm, right? Peter really did seem like the kind of person who would stick to his commitments, which is such a rare thing, isn't it? Somebody who actually sticks to the commitments and the promises they make. I mean, people who bail on commitments that they make, they're arrogant in a different way. They're only thinking about themselves, right? But Peter seemed to be getting arrogant in his determination to stay committed to Jesus, right? He seemed to be relying a little too much on his own ability or resolve. And if Peter was going to be a mature follower of Jesus and a mature leader in the church eventually, he's going to have to learn to rely less on himself and more on Jesus. And so Jesus put him into this very difficult test to humble him. Do you think Jesus ever does that to us? Do you think he ever purposefully puts us into a test because maybe we've gotten just a little bit of a big head and we've been relying on ourselves and our resources and our power, supposed power, to lead us to rely more on him after we fail? This is what Paul was talking about in 1 Corinthians when he said, you guys don't get too big of a head because you really haven't faced anything that's uncommon to mankind. No test has seized you that isn't common to people. If you think you are standing firm, watch out lest you fall. Right? 1 Corinthians chapter 10, I think. Difficult tests humble the proud. We've been going through this theme of testing on Wednesdays, and we've been watching a great video by the Bible Project called The Test, and the imagery is outstanding. So I wanted to just explain. This is an image from the video that I think is really, really helpful when it comes to understanding the difference between a test and a trap. Anybody know? I mean, I know some of you have been with us on Wednesdays, so should I let you? Because it's not fair to the others. What's the difference between a test and a trap? And if you've been coming and you already we've gone through the video and all that. Anybody, the difference between a test and a trap? Anybody remember? Colin. The intention, okay, whether the one testing you has your best interests in mind. And so this is one of the images from the video where they're discussing the difference between a test and a trap. Behind the figure in the green, there's a king sitting on a throne, and the two doors are like illustrations for a test and a trap. You see on the right, that's the door through the test. And it looks fiery, doesn't it? And hard. Yeah, you're left. Right. No, I know, Kelly, I'm talking on the king. So the king's throne, the right of the king. Yeah, I gotcha. Pastor doesn't know his directions. He doesn't know which, he's got to go. Yeah, that's good. He's got to go back to kindergarten. It's fiery. It's supposed to refine your character, right? A test isn't supposed to be a pleasant thing. And then the enemy is pointing you to the door on the other side. We'll just go with the door to the other side. And look at what's behind that door. It looks pleasing to the eye, right? Comfortable, easy. Yeah, welcoming. The only problem is the enemy does not have your best interest in mind, right? And so it's a trap. What I love about the video is it goes on to show Jesus in the garden. He's in the middle. I know it's hard to see. But Jesus was faced with a test, wasn't he? Which the enemy probably tried to turn into a trap. Jesus could have chosen what seemed better and easier than the Father's plan for him, right? He could have chosen that. He could have put himself above a world that had gone its own way and wandered off into ruin and destruction. He could have done that. But instead, he went and he prayed 3 times, "If this cup might pass from me, Lord, take it, please. And if not, your will be done." 3 times. And he passed the test. He entered into the flames. Jesus chose to go the way that would mean the end of his life, which, if we just stop and think about that, shows us how incredibly committed he is to us and how deeply he cares about us, right? That he would choose that test, that he would choose to take responsibility for our failed tests. And then after he passed through death instead of us, God raised him to life again. And so difficult tests also, they prove love for the Father and love for others. It is God's will to conform you and me, who trust in Jesus, to the image of his Son. Would you agree? That is the Father's will for us, to conform us to the likeness of Jesus, so that we love our Father more as he loves us, and so that we put the needs of others above our own. That's what it means to be conformed to the likeness of Jesus. And I know all of us, to some degree in our new self, want that, and we want to be conformed. So, get ready for the test. Get ready for the test. It's how God works through us to prove our love for him and our love for others. As I was talking with the kids, this is really something, Southern California, an image you're going to see every time you're over at the beach, right? Hopefully they're being vigilant. Lifeguards in Southern California are very well trained. They're first responders, not just for incidents that are occurring in the water, but other incidents that are taking place around state parks and those things. These are highly trained individuals whose vigilance can mean the difference between life and death, right? And this is a huge, important job to take on. It can be the difference between life and death, to keep watch and to be vigilant. Do you know that there was a night on which every Israelite male was to keep vigil? They were to stay awake, be alert. This is from Exodus chapter 12. When there's instructions for Passover, it says, because the Lord kept vigil that night, the night of Passover when he brought the Israelites out of Egypt, on this night, all the Israelites are to keep watch, keep vigil, to honor the Lord for the generations to come. Do you know why that's significant? What did Jesus just celebrated with the disciples? He just celebrated Passover. And that night, every Israelite was supposed to keep vigil to remind themselves of how the Lord kept watch to bring them out of Egypt. And nobody was doing very good except Jesus, the Lord, who was keeping watch in his darkest hour for us and for our salvation. If a lifeguard, you think of the intensity with which a lifeguard rushes into danger to rescue people as they're keeping watch, how much more God? How much more the creator of heaven and earth? So the last point is that the Lord keeps watch in the garden to bring us into the capital G garden, the presence of the Lord himself. To deliver us from evil, right? And to bring us safely into the kingdom of our God and our Father. So let's close with just a great reflection on how the Lord is vigilant toward his people. He is keeping watch over them. It's Psalm 121. Psalm 121. This is great. It's a great way to end. I lift up my eyes to the mountains. Where does my help come from? My help comes from Yahweh, the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. He will not let your foot slip. He who watches over you will not slumber. Indeed, he who watches over Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord watches over you. The Lord is your shade at your right hand. The sun will not harm you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will keep you from all harm. He will watch over your life. The Lord will watch over your coming and going, both now and forevermore. Amen.